Everybody good? Okay, we'll do like we always do, microphone for questions. We'll just jump into opening statement or anything. So first question for Coach Fuller. Tim?
Hey, Tim. Hey, Coach. What was it about Coach Norvell and your relationship with him that led you to want to rejoin him down here, and I guess what kind of inspired you to stick with him?
Well, it's kind of, when Mike called when I was at Marshall after our bowl game about this time last year, it became apparent to me that you always want to surround yourself with people that will help you grow, improve, and it was quickly in our relationship that I realized that was the type of person he was, somebody I want to surround myself with. And then we went off, had a really good year this past year, and so it was two-part, right? He happened to get a job here, so the university itself was incredibly appealing and exciting, but the opportunity to stay with him, because I think I grew as a football coach defensively, but just how to improve and how to go about certain things. I thought Mike does a great job of developing his coaches, and hopefully that will continue to happen. And I'm just fortunate enough to stay with him.
Deshaun?
Coach Fuller.
Hey.
How would you describe your defensive philosophy, and what would you say are the key principles of your scheme?
Well, it's always going to start with the players, and however that's going to look here as far as what we have here and what we'll be able to recruit over the next 6 months. But the things that are important that we're going to have certain schemes that we're going to run, we're going to have coverages, we're going to have pressures, and all that stuff is part of it. But it really comes down to the components of when people look at the Florida State defense and people watch us play, I think it's going to be important that they're able to define us with certain things like, I want us to play fast, I want us to be able to line up fast, I want us to be able to coach quickly, concise and clear, clean things up for the players so they can get lined up, and when the ball turns over that we've got 11 guys playing on the same accord, but with an incredible passion and speed. I think we got to be a tough-minded group, and that just isn't about getting moved on and off the line of scrimmage, but just how we approach each day, how we go about meetings, how we go about walkthroughs, how we go about class. I truly believe everything we do is connected to our success and our growth, whether it's on the field, off the field, how we approach things, and then we're going to have a smart defense, and that starts with me, our assistant coaches, and making sure we're coaching things with the right energy to create buy-in from the players, give them enough situational awareness to be able to play, creative in how we coach with technology, with our thoughts, whether we're, and I'm a true believer, like I'll have a part in every single position on our defense. I'll have a position specific, but I will touch every part of our defense. And I want all of our coaches to be that way too, because listen, the goal of this football program is to improve, the goal of our defense is to improve, and that's not only in our techniques, that's not only in our scheme, but that's with everything, so we'll be a driven group, we'll play extremely fast, everything we do will be with those words, fast, tough, and smart, in the forefront of how we need to play. And so, we want to be multiple with how we appear to people, but we want to be simple enough so that we can play fast. So it comes down to teaching, it comes down to lining up in a certain way. We want to give certain presentations throughout the year so that teams may look at us and say, well, if they line up like this, they're going to get that. And we want to tell a story as the season goes on that we know what the ending is going to be, and not only we know the ending, we don't really want the offense to know exactly how the picture is going to be painted. So we'll line up in a certain way that I think that you'll be able to say, yeah, that's what Florida State looks like. But when the ball turns over, we'd like to be able to give a couple different reactions from the offense. And so from that standpoint, we'll be multiple.
We'll go to Ira on your left.
Hey, Ira.
Hey, how you doing? You've had some defense. You've taken over some defenses that struggled in the past and have had progress. What are some of the things that you need to do to help reverse that trend if a unit hasn't had success in the past?
Mindset and hard work. It's really about the work, and that'll be the message from day one. Everybody wants to get in, and I told the players, they've been coming up the last couple days, and when you hear about the great defenses of Florida State past, or the great defenses in football, you hear about schemes sometimes. You hear about certain alignments or pressures, but you hear more about descriptive words and how they play, and the work, and the mindset, and the toughness, and the finish, and the resolve that certain defenses have. And so I think those are the messages that I'm trying to show. And I told the players as they come up, you don't have to trust me. You just have to watch us work. And we're gonna lead the way with our actions and how we do things. And players that are about the right stuff, and players that want to improve and want to get this program, this proud program, in the way that we all want it to be, is gonna follow that lead. And it's really about our actions and how we're gonna go about our business, and the things we're gonna do daily, and the habits we're gonna create as a group that really aren't gonna change, whether it's the end of the season getting ready for a bowl game or January 2nd when we come back and go to work. There'll be different focuses and aim each week or each session of the workouts, but really the mindset and how you do things are the most important things to me.
Wayne to your right, front row.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Good afternoon.
Just wondering, how much time have you been able to spend watching film of the defense, or watching practice, and just what are your initial thoughts of the defensive roster that you've inherited?
Well, I try to form, obviously we're constantly forming opinions about everybody, right? But I'm very open-minded to position moves. I'm very open-minded towards drawing assumptions about individuals that I wasn't involved with. So I'm constantly trying to gain information, but I'm not drawing any assumptions at this moment. It's more at this point, I want to be here at Florida State 24 hours a day for these players, so they can get to know who I am and what we're trying to get out of them, and what we're our aims for each individual player and collectively as a defense. Haven't really broken down the roster from a recruiting standpoint we have, because we got to move forward with numbers. But we're not making position moves at this time. It's more about people and just trying to relate to them, trying to get to know them, trying to show them who I am, what we're about, expectations of how we operate. But haven't really delved into the entire roster from the skill sets of each individual. But have known as far as if we're going to move a group of people or how we got to do it just from recruiting needs. And that's about as specific as we've gone at this point.
Go in the back to Aslan.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Aslan.
Everybody's journey is a little bit different. Not everybody lands a Power 5 coordinator job at the age of 30 like Coach Dillingham, but for you, just to your journey to finally get to this level of football, Power 5, I mean, what have you appreciated and learned from your sort of your travels and your journey from Assumption to Chattanooga to Marshall to here we are now?
Yes, sir. Appreciate the resume. Well, it's, listen, I'm sure what I'm going to say and what Mike's going to say and what Kenny's going to say, it's going to be a lot of the same stuff because we're like-minded. But my path has made me who I am, and who I am is who we want to be. As far as, my career has been, started out because of really not one individual coach, but more about the sport and what I thought helped create and the things that it made me feel, and the characteristics that it's really shown me that are important. And it's really been just about every job I've had to take as I've moved through the profession. It's whether I had to take a position move back or a level back to move up. It's just been a progression. And, a lot of work has gone into it, with unbelievable family support. And, it hasn't been easy, but it's been a joy and it's been a passion. And to end up at a place like Florida State University has been a dream. And, but I only got to this dream by a work ethic and by a will to prepare and being good to people and trying to do it the right way and to outwork everybody in the country. And, when you finally get here, you don't let up, you just hit the accelerator a little bit more. So just looking forward to the opportunity.
Brendan on the front row to your left.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Good, you?
Good, thanks. So going off of the last question about your journey, and this is going to sound like a simple question, I guess, but what made you want to be a coach? When did you decide to get into this profession?
That's a good question. I graduated from Sacred Heart University, and I was really unsure of what I wanted to do. I knew I loved football. I played in a small all-star game and realized that it wasn't going to be a future as far as playing still. I had taken the state troopers test. I was a criminal justice major. And that was more in support of my grandfather, who was a military member of World War II. So I was just doing it out of respect for him. Maybe I would go down the path of law enforcement. And as I walked out of the test, I realized this is not what I want to do. And football kept coming to my mind, but I wasn't really sure about what that was all about either. I didn't have a mentor in mind, a high school coach, a college coach. I had people that influenced me, but no true mentor. So I went to my college coach and said I'd like to get into coaching, hoping that he would just give me a job at the current school so I could prolong the process of making a decision of what you want to do with your life. 3 days later, he called me in, said, I got you a job. It's at Worcester Polytechnical Institute, a Division III engineering school. You make $2,000. I said to myself, well, that's not really what I was thinking about, but he got it for me, so yes, sir. And I showed up, and that first year was good. It was solid, but the head coach got let go in November, and it's like, I'm making $2,000, like at what point, So then I went to Wagner College, and there was an athletic director there named Walt Hamline. He was the only AD, 1AA head football coach combination. And within about a year of working with him, and his passion, his drive, his work ethic, his commitment to improvement, always sort of working at the things he was doing, it clicked. And then I realized I could stay in football. I could quench my thirst for just work. And I thought, this is a place, every dollar I made went into buying a book, trying to get to a place to learn, and I just got caught up in it. And probably year 2 is really when it became my passion and what I wanted to do, and the influence that I would have on players, the influence they would have on me. It really provided a platform for improvement that I wanted to be a part of. So it just started that journey of just trying to study and get around the most successful people I could find, and just constantly trying to wake up every morning a little bit earlier, go to bed a little bit later, and just work a little bit harder. And that's really been the aim at all the different places I've been to. And really it started back then at Wagner College for Walt Hamline.
Go to Corey on the second row to your left.
Hey, Coach, 2 questions. First, when did you give up the dream and have to do what I did with the hair?
I didn't give it up, it's coming back.
Oh, man, congratulations.
Yeah, appreciate your assumption.
That's good.
No.
Real question, going up against Coach Norvell in practice, can you describe what his offense is like, and what were those, I know it's practice, but it can get competitive on a practice field. What were those battles like for that year in practice with his offense?
Great, and when I say competitive, when we compete here, it's gonna be us with them, not us versus them, right? And that's important because we're all trying to win each individual rep. The great thing about Mike in our offense here at Florida State is it's gonna be multiple. There's gonna be volume of run game, which I think, to compete against that creates toughness, which is important on defense. It's important on offense too. There's a variety, there's packages of personnel groups, of formations, of motions, of speed, of lateral runs, of direct runs, of action passes, which on defense, this is, as we went into practice 1, usually as coordinators, you sit down for the first time, when you're with each other, you say, all right, this is what we're gonna be day 1, this is what you're gonna be day 1. He said, all right, do you wanna know what we're gonna be? And I said, absolutely not. I said, do you wanna know what we're gonna be? And he said, nope. And that's the way it should be, I think. When you install a defense or an offense, like each call is built in to be flexible enough to deal with whatever's gonna happen. Now, there's not ideal calls for everything, right? There's specific calls for certain situations, but every call we use has to be built to deal with all things encompassing, unbalanced, empty, whatever you wanna get into. But there's a variety of it, and just like every defense coordinator in the country has a checklist of things you gotta hit day 1 in spring, day 1 of fall camp, day 1 of week 1, you never wanna be surprised. Pretty much after spring, that checklist is pretty much checked off from the things you have to prepare for. So from that standpoint, it really helps the defense grow, and from a competitive standpoint, he's competitive, and our entire program will be. But it is us with them, and I think we'll all grow because of it.
Go back over to your right to Deshaun.
Coach, I know it hasn't been very long, but what's been your message to recruits and their families?
Same messages to the players, you get I guess in this profession, when you get recruiting and you've been in a place for less than a week, there's a part where you have to for lack of a better term, sell yourself, because the program has been sold and sold in a great way to these prospects. Nobody's hearing about Florida State for the first time, right? Growing up in this state or in the surrounding area, everybody knows what a Florida State Seminole looks like and what the program has been known for. But there's a part of it that you have to educate the families and the individual recruits on, this is who I am as a person, this is what my wife Hope is about, this is my 2 children, right? You're always doing that. And then you gotta go through your timeline and like, these are the players that we've developed, this is the defenses I've been a part of, this is the vision of what Florida State is gonna be about. I mean, there's a part of that you're trying to sell and just trying to educate them. So it's been a sprint, but anybody that's involved in this line of work, you absolutely love it. You know, you're trying to get to know them, you're trying to make sure they get to know you, and you know, you can't replace time in relationships, right? You can't fast forward and say, signing day's on Wednesday, and we only have 2. I mean, time's time, you know, so does it mean maybe one more text message, one more DM, one more telephone call, one more FaceTime? Probably, because you're trying to replace the time that we haven't had. But if you're sincere and you treat people the right way, usually that comes off the right way, and that's what we're trying to do right now.
Go to Ira.
When you met Coach Norvell, I guess what point did you realize, okay, this is a guy I want to work with? Was it during the interview? Was it what you had heard beforehand, or was it after you took the job and was around him a little bit?
First conversation, he called me, and me and Coach Norvell, the first time we met is when he picked me up at the airport for my first day at Memphis. We had never met each other face to face. We had phone conversations over the holidays. And I got off the phone the first time I spoke to him, and I told my wife, I want to work with him. It was one, you know, he's sharing his vision of who he is as a man, basically, right? It was zero, this is how you fit A-gap power, right? It was more like, this is who I am, this is how I act, this is what I do on Tuesday. You know, what do you do on Tuesday? You know, well, this is who I am. And then it became a little bit more big picture of, in a program, when a player acts a certain way, how do you react? You know, and then there was just, whether it was he'll say something, I'll say, that's a great idea, or that's what I do, or that's how I think. And I think it's important not to surround yourself with people that are exactly like you, but you want to surround yourself with people with like mindset, and we're like work ethic, and with high expectations. And so the first conversation, you know, I knew that, and I hadn't even watched Memphis football, you know. Obviously it was appealing to me as a defensive coach to know that, you know, between him and Kenny, they've done a great job on offense, you know, and they run the football. And that was appealing, even if I didn't connect with him on that level. But to combine it all, it was going to create for a great work environment. And, you know, that's what provided last year, and we had some success last year with it.
Tim?
Coach, you spent a long time at Marshall. How did you grow during that time as a coach, and what influence did Coach Holliday have on you?
That was my first Division I opportunity. You know, and again, Doc Holliday did not know me. I didn't know anybody on their staff, and there was no connection. You know, they had made a change on defense and needed to hire defensive staff, and you know, I went down there and interviewed with him and Chuck Heater, and those were 2 legends in this state from a standpoint of recruiting ties, from coaching. So it was my first opportunity to get a big picture feel of Division I football. And so when I interviewed and Doc offered me the job, it was a no-brainer for me because it was my opportunity to get into Division I football and an opportunity to be around 2 successful people. And I've always said in this profession, the more you can surround yourself with success and people that do it the right way, the more chance you're going to grow. And you know, it's always about improvement. And when I joined that program, obviously we had a lot of success there. We turned that defense around quickly. They were really good on offense, and you know, had a really good 6 years. You know, won 5 bowl games, played 2 conference championships, and developed a lot of good friendships, especially with Coach Holliday. And if one person that recruited the state of Florida well, it was Doc. You know, so learned a lot through him, and developed a lot of relationships in this state. And so I'll be forever grateful.
Gene?
Good afternoon, Coach.
Hey, Gene.
Hey, what is your, being around football for so long, what is your impression when you hear the name Florida State? And to follow up on that too, also, big name around here, obviously, Mickey Andrews. What does a guy like that mean to you as a defensive coach?
Well, when I think of Florida State, I know I stand up here as the defensive coordinator at Florida State, but I think defense. You know, I was probably like most college football coaches growing up. I would play in my game and go home and turn the TV on. And at that age, when I was growing up, Florida State was changing the game on defense. And they were having fun doing it. And so I can remember, I actually think back, I had a Florida State hat growing up, you know, and shoot, I never left. I grew up right outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and we didn't leave the state until I went to college, you know. So when I think of Coach Andrews, you know, it's great having, being here, and I haven't met him yet, but to walk in this building and see that statue of Coach Bowden, and to know that Coach Andrews at one point is going to walk through that door, I mean, it's inspirational, because he not only did it so well, he did it so well here, he did so well for such a long period of time. And to hear the former players, because I've spoken to a lot of former players, and you don't talk to them long before Coach Andrews' name comes up. And again, it's not Coach Andrews' scheme was this. It's none of that. And I'm sure the scheme was great, but who he was and Coach Bowden was as men, and what they inspired the players to do and how they did it, you know, that's what wakes me up a little bit early every morning right now, you know. So looking forward to meeting them. You know, it'll be a proud moment for me, and I'm sure I'll learn a lot.
Aslan?
Rounding out the defensive staff in terms of the coaches, the assistants, are you sourcing candidates? Is that something that Mike's helping you with? Are you leaning on a network of coaches that you know, and just how's that kind of coming along for you?
Yeah, everything we do will be with me and Mike and the rest of the coaching staff in mind. So, you know, we're vetting people right now. We're talking to people, and, you know, we've got a great idea of the direction that we want to go, you know, to get the best defensive staff we can, the best entire staff here at Florida State. So that process is ongoing right now. I don't want to say it's taking a backseat to recruiting, but there's three-prong right now. There's recruiting, there's hiring a staff, and there's developing relationships with these current players. And that's really where all the focus has been on all of it.
Anything else? Tim?
On that note, what's it been like getting to know Odell, and how much of your time is balanced, kind of getting on the same page with him, but also allowing him to serve in his duties as interim head coach?
I already told Odell, whatever has to happen for us to beat Arizona State in the bowl game needs to happen. I'll wait 10 more minutes, I'll wait an hour. Just show me the office to go into. And every minute that I'm not gonna be around him or the current staff, I'm gonna be around the players, I'm gonna be on the phone. And that's pretty much how I've tried to prioritize it. But just, you know, I've met Odell in schools. I remember him more than he remembers me. But, you know, I feel so fortunate because we will be front-based up front. And to have a man like Odell lead that front is really special to me. You know, so he's been great, you know, from just the stories he tells. First time in that defensive staff room, I saw that basket of baseballs, and I said, what in the world is that? Can we move that somewhere else? Like, that looks like it's in the way of where we need to work. Like, there needs to be a dry erase board. He goes, we don't move that. That's for shutouts. That's been here by Coach Andrews. So, you know, just little things like that. You know, you're learning about the special things about this place daily, which is great, but just don't get caught up with it because it's about the work, you know, and that's, you know, you got to be able to enjoy it, listen to the stories, appreciate them. But again, these stories are only special because of the work that people have put in before us, you know, so now it's our turn.
Last one, Ira.
Coach, I guess I was curious, I've read a lot about Coach Dillingham and his energy and passion, and it sounds like that's pretty common with the staff you guys are building, but what were your first impressions, I guess, of Coach and when you met him, and what your relationship has been like?
Of Kenny?
Yeah.
Well, it was, you know, I met Kenny this summer. We had a camp up at Memphis, and it was a collective camp with coaches from all over the country. And working with Mike and some other people that were at Memphis that had worked with Kenny, I don't feel like I knew him, but I feel like I, you know, there was a picture painted of who he was. And when I met him for the first time here a couple days ago, he hasn't let me down. You know, I think he's part of the group of, you know, whether it's gonna be schematically, personality-wise, or just the drive to improve when you look across the hall, because that's what it's about. It's about putting together a group of men that can, number one, help each other, but that can inspire each other. You know, not only with words, but with actions, with how they treat people. And Kenny's cut from that mold, the same mold Mike is. And, you know, I don't want to say we're all the same person, but I think we have all the same aims and intentions. And so from that standpoint, it's been great. You know, I really look forward to spending the next season here with Kenny for sure.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.